Australians are working harder than ever, yet it feels like money is disappearing faster than ever. Your mortgage is under pressure, petrol is climbing again, groceries are still brutally expensive, and the RBA could hit households with another rate rise. So here's the real question. Is the cost of living crisis just bad luck, or is the system itself completely broken? And what is the solution? If we can't trust the government to fix it, what is our alternative? In this episode, we're going to break down why life in Australia feels so expensive right now, and why it could get worse, and who is actually really responsible for this mess. We also look at why more people are turning to Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation and debasement, and of course government failure itself. Because inflation has not been beaten. The RBA already hiked rates in February. Inflation is still above target, and major banks now expect another increase in March. That means more pain for mortgages, businesses, and anyone that's carrying debt. So first, let's take a look at what actually caused the cost of living crisis. Pressure point 1, rates. The RBA's job is to fight inflation, but for households, that means higher repayments and less breathing room. When inflation stays high, rates go even higher, and for a longer period of time. And whilst the USA are dropping rates, Australia has actually increased them, which is an extra sting. Pressure point 2, oil and petrol. The conflict involving Iran has disrupted the Strait of Hormuz, and that is a massive choke point for about 20% of global oil and gas flows. That has already lifted oil prices and pushed Australian fuel prices even higher. This is how a war on the other side of the world ends up hurting families on Australian soil. Pressure point 3, government management. At the same time as households being told to tighten their belts, the government is mismanaging cash and audit of payments. And just to name a few of these, the CFMEU Victorian Big Build alleged claim was $15 billion in fraudulent and mismanaged payments. The NDIS leakage, roughly $2.5 to $4.2 billion a year, has happened in fraudulent payments through NDIS payments, and also businesses being established which aren't even built for NDIS. It's a complete disgusting rot on the Australian taxpayers' money. Number 3, the attack class submarines, $2.5 billion already spent, with the Senate committee pointing to up to $5.5 billion wasted. Not to mention the number of inefficient infrastructure projects and the this one kills me, the poorly run system in the government departments. It's absolutely disgusting. It's like they're running in the 70s on old systems and old processes. Now, pressure point 4, resources and revenue management. I've spoken about this one many times before, but Australia is one of the world's major gas exporters, with LNG exports worth tens of billions of dollars every single year. Yet many Australian households still feel like they're paying global prices locally. So there was something raised recently that Australia actually is making more money taxing beer than what we're making taxing our LNG exports. This is making people question, if Australia is so rich in resources, why does it feel like we're financially so tight? So as you can see, Australia is in a complete cost of living crisis. And the reality is a lot of it is completely out of your control. And this is where the conversation changes, because there is one asset that does not rely on the central bank, and it cannot actually be printed. It isn't controlled by Canberra, and it has permanently fixed supply of 21 million. And that asset is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not a magic wand for your next petrol bill, but it is a long-term answer to a system built on debt expansion and currency debasement. When governments overspend, when central banks print, when asset prices inflate, and when the purchasing power of cash falls, Bitcoin offers an alternative monetary network with rules that cannot be bent for politicians' convenience. And that is the real pitch. Not a get-rich-quick scheme, but a way to protect yourself from a broken monetary system. Let me show you something really interesting. Everyone in Australia talks about how impossible it is to buy a house right now, and they're not wrong. The average home in Australia is now worth around $1 million. 20 years ago, that sounded absolutely insane. But here's the thing. When we measure houses in Australian dollars, they only ever seem to go up, because the dollar itself is constantly losing purchasing power. But what happens if we measure houses in Bitcoin instead? Back in 2016, the average Australian home cost roughly 900 Bitcoin. Yes, 900 Bitcoin. Fast forward to today, the average house costs less than 8 Bitcoin. Think about that for just 1 second. In Australia, dollar houses went from $650,000 to $1 million, but in Bitcoin, they went from 900 down to only 8. That's not just a price change, that's a complete shift in purchasing power. And this is the key idea that you need to understand. Most Australians are saving in a currency that is constantly being diluted, while assets like property rise to compensate for it. Bitcoin flips that equation on its head. Instead of assets getting more expensive, the money itself becomes stronger. So when people say housing becomes impossible, it depends what money you're using to measure it in. So, cost of living in Australia is absolutely crushing us, and rates may go even higher. Oil shocks are making things even worse, and who knows what's going to happen with Iran. Trust in the institution is absolutely failing, and Australian exports huge amounts of its resource wealth, and households are just not feeling any richer. But Bitcoin gives people a way to store value outside of that system. You cannot control the RBA. You cannot control the oil wars. You cannot control what politicians waste, but you can control where you store your wealth. And that is why Bitcoin matters now more than ever. If you want a step-by-step blueprint to building wealth in cryptocurrency, then I encourage you to book in a call using the link in the description of this video and leave a comment on how you're feeling in the current state of this economy. I respond to absolutely every single comment. Make sure you follow me so you keep up to date with everything going on in our society and how you can get ahead with simple strategic planning. Thanks for tuning in to Crypto Coach Will. If you got value from today's episode, then make sure to subscribe so you never miss the latest tips to navigate the crypto market. If you're ready to take crypto investing to the next level, check out the links below where you can book in a call with my team of experts. We place strong emphasis on educating before investing in the market, so take advantage of the knowledge they have to share. Don't forget to follow us on socials @CryptoCoachWill, and I'll catch you in the next episode.